The Business Journal Roundtable Series is sponsored by iSynergy, creative digital advertising.
Well, we're getting near the end of the discussion, so I wanted to go back to just the basic question of marketing versus branding. What is the difference, and is there a difference?
I'm worried we're mansplaining over here. I want to make sure we hear.
Yeah, I think there definitely is a huge difference. I think, in my opinion at least, marketing is kind of how you, like the company you would think of, when you want to buy a pair of shoes or you want to buy a car or something like that, and it's promoting the products that they sell and things like that. I think branding is more of, how you feel about that company, their voice, their kind of attitude, their look, their logos, their colors, kind of just everything about that company. So I think the difference is, marketing is kind of selling the things that they sell, and that's our job. And the branding side of it is kind of making them look good and how they appear to, the consumer.
I agree. I think marketing too is more reactionary sometimes or more fluid. So if you put a marketing campaign out for something and the response you're getting isn't great, not Bud Light, but smaller ones, you can shift or you can pivot over to something else, change that up, get what you want. But the brand to me is more it's more stable. It's how people feel about you. What do they always say? Your first marketing 101, they always say Cadillac. How do you feel about Cadillac, right? And everyone says, oh, it means that you've reached the pinnacle of success. You've done all of this. Well, Cadillac's had some big failures with their spokespeople or influencers. I can't name it off the bat, but their market share went down for a while. But still, that brand remains as quality. So yeah, I think marketing is much more fluid, brand is much more stable.
And I think in order to be successful at your marketing, you have to understand your branding. I feel like it's like, to me, the branding comes first and then the marketing strategy comes. So to know yourself is the most important thing. So to know your company and to know your brand and then be able to actually communicate that and then put a plan in place to actually disseminate it's really the first step.
I would say the branding is part of marketing. It's the cornerstone, as everyone's been saying here. It's the basic thought, image, or feeling company or people have or your customers have about your company or your product. And to me, the branding part should involve making sure that the branding right from the get-go is appropriate. We've changed a lot of brand names and images, logos, etc. of companies over the years simply because times have changed or their market has changed, the people they sell to change, the products that they used to sell are no longer relevant, so the brand name they had is no longer relevant. They want to create a new excitement or interest in their companies. So sometimes that's worth rebranding. So that's where it all starts, because they want people to have that impression from the get-go, the image, the name, etc., that are connected to that company. So they might have to change it if that's necessary. And any company that goes over 40, 50 years, they're probably looking at doing that.
So we think of brand as it's the most valuable and tangible asset that any company should have. It may not be because they haven't really invested in it, but it can be or should be. And we define brand as the perception of the value of a company, product, or service in the marketplace. But then, of course, what are the things that go into the perception of that value? So I guess an example might be if you think of Apple's annually almost always the most valuable brand in the world. Not necessarily the most valuable company, the most valuable brand. But if you think about it, the brand that Steve Jobs developed, it's still based on those same principles. All these new products, all these new technologies, but yet elegance, simplicity, great design, powerful user interfaces. There's certain things, it doesn't matter what you look at in all the iterations, almost all of them, there's a couple of misses, right, fit that. So that's why that's the brand, that's the essential qualities. How the stores look, how the store experience is. Those things endure even though the products change. And you may change your marketing for certain products, right? But those are the enduring things. And so when a company can identify those, know those things, then your brand becomes a competitive advantage, even when you don't have the best price, or even if your product isn't quite up to someone else's. Like, was it Steve that said about You're saying Androids are better than, I'm not sure I agree with that, but okay. But people love, I like my iPhone. And I have, and someone else, an emotional affinity with the idea of Apple. Well, yeah, I'm a little bit of a rebel, whether I am or not, who knows? But they perceive that. So those are those things, those intangible assets.
And the best
that can make one
brand in the
more powerful.
world, the best branding in the world isn't going to make up for a crappy product, right? Or service. So if you have, if it's a bad product or service, you could, the reason Cadillac is considered the Cadillac of, et cetera, it's because it makes a good product. So, not that it's just expensive, it's a little more money than a regular car, but it's a better car too. So, you can't just count on the name or the look of it to bring you business.
I always give an elementary example of the marketing is Chick-fil-A. Their marketing is they make a great chicken sandwich, but their branding is their drive-through you can get through in 30 seconds. But they don't market that. That's their brand. That's that's what they make people feel. That's what people think about them.
And even closed on Sundays is part of their brand. It gives the idea that we're a family-friendly oriented business. That closed on Sundays, a lot of people have argued over the years, how much more could they make if they're open on Sundays? But they would say no. They do it for religious principles. At least they initially did. But now it's part of their brand. Yeah, we're closed on Sundays. Yeah, we can make more money. We care about our people. We care about our families, and that's part of their brand. One of my local companies the same way. They're closed on Sundays, and they feel that's part of their brand. Their brand. This is who you want to do business with.
The Business Journal Roundtable Series is sponsored by iSynergy, creative digital advertising.